earlier you said, you mentioned grunge and honestly, there's metal has always like a 5 year thing. It's like there's hair metal was really big when I was in high school. Then it went to grunge, honestly. And then it went to new metal. Now I think it's kind of metalcore, and a lot of it's going back to new
Yeah,
metal because a lot of the kids in bands today, they were being influenced. They were younger when new metal came out, so they're into thrash, but they're also into new metal. So you're hearing a mix of the two. Um,
right. And Pantera, I mean, they were pretty much a hair metal band. That's another example of hair metal band from the '80s that
mhm.
turned into a metal band.
Yeah, yeah,
There's plenty of them you could look back and say that started one way and ended up metal. And I know a lot of people say what the Phil Anselmo, it took what Exhorder was doing and
yeah,
just kind of put it into what they, but every band, if you look at them, like a few favorite bands that they listen to, and then they
mhm.
tried to turn that into something that, was, the more they played those bands' music, the way that they found their own sound.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, the exhorter thing. I do have some thoughts on that being from New Orleans, and grew up in New Orleans. So I'm very familiar with exhorter. I interviewed Carl Thomas on this channel. I'm obviously familiar with Phil Anselmo. He was in a band called Razor White, which was definitely more hair metal. Now we're talking mid 80s at this point, 86, 85,
right,
84. Kyle from Exhorder is a little bit younger. So, 3 years can make a big difference, so it doesn't, Phil's musical
well,
taste
the music was
evolved.
changing quick.
Yeah. Phil's musical taste evolved into naturally what was going on in the underground in New Orleans. And that was a lot of, that was I Hate God, that was Crowbar, that was Soylent Green, Exhorder, which was really one of the first. That were, you know, I'll say this: they sound similar, but they're built similar. Like you do have singers that sort of their voices just sound the same. Phil's not trying to sound like Kyle. Kyle's not trying to sound like Phil. They just sound like each other. If you
Right,
listen to them speak, when I was interviewing Kyle, I was like, he sounds like Phil when they speak. They both have the same voice. I mean, that just happens,
right,
They're both from the same area. They both probably smoked a ton of cigarettes, drank a ton of Dixie beer, you know. So yeah,
right.
they're similar. Now Kyle did shave his head. Like when Phil came out with Revolver Display of Power, just shaved head. That was Kyle's look, you know. Um, but Phil was making no secret about it. If you look at, there's a picture of Phil wearing an Exhorder T-shirt for a Pantera promo shot. It's not like Phil didn't rip him off. Phil is just a product and a DNA of New Orleans, just like Kyle is, and that's what Phil brought into the Pantera sound.